Samsung is an internationally recognized company. In fact, 2 of the 4 members that are standing on this stage today are regular users. However, what they do not know is the added benefits from Samsung. The eco products, the services, and that in itself is a problem. We are Team Canada. We are 4 co-CEOs for Samsung Enterprises. My name is Maxime Leduc.
My name is Stéphane Lauzon.
My name is Sarah Napoli.
My name is Daniel Boileau.
So as Max pointed out, the big issue here is that Samsung doesn't have enough awareness, specifically enough awareness about its Samsung Members app. A lot of people know about Samsung products and how many huge products they have, but they don't know specifically about the eco products, and this is a huge issue because competitors who want to put extra money into buying eco products will go to different companies.
So going over a recommendation real quick. So we're aiming for a cycle of success, starting with consumer point of sale, the purchase, following the success cycle to a customer loyalty for another purchase. Jumping into our SWOT analysis, some of our strength is Samsung's global, so they're all over the world. We can test different markets with different strategies to help different markets. Looking at potential obstacles, we have obstacles of awareness. So we have a small or a lack of customer users. Look at opportunities. We have environmental crisis. So everybody in the world, or most countries, are trying to help this environmental crisis. But a threat, a lot of individuals have disbelief.
All right, guys, so we're going to jump into the STP analysis. So what we started out by doing here is divided our 3 possible segments by demographic. Our first one is from age 15 to 30, 31 to 54, and 55 plus. What we aim to do here is differentiate the consumer behavior in each segment. So what we deducted is that action group, which are students and activists, are often willing to implement ecological change. And the key takeaway is that Samsung's target market will be the action group. So based from this, we were able to deduct a positioning chart. Here you can analyze all of the enterprises that are currently involved in ecological and sustainable development. And on the bottom axis, we have community awareness. So it's essentially the amount of awareness that's raised behind this diminution. Now for our 3 alternatives. So our first alternative was installing a refurbishing plant in California. So essentially the idea behind this was to create a transparency behind how Samsung goes about recycling products. The next is our sustainable development competition. Now, what we want to do for this is look on an international level for sustainable development companies and organizations that are already implementing their social goals to come into a competition and research and compete to see what Samsung's new eco product could be. From this, we'd be offering royalties and they'd be selling the idea. And our third and final alternative is Samsung app remodel, which we're going to call Samsung Green. Now, the first thing that we want to do for this is to remodel the Samsung Members app in order to have the rewards section be more inclusive and more incentives, as well as have more opportunities for consumers to be empowered to change the ecology. And finally, our decision matrix. We analyzed 3 possibilities and 3 alternatives, of which we ranked based on social impact, community involvement, consumer loyalty, networking, and co-prosperity. As you can see, Samsung Green was the highest ranking one. Finally, the pros and cons recommendation. So for Samsung app remodel, our pros were that we would have the opportunity to network directly with social development goals, and our cons is that it would have a yearly implementation cost, meaning that in order to implement our solution, we would need to maintain it. And of course, the willing versus the wanting. Those who are willing to take the future into their hands and invest in changing the social values, and those who want to, but aren't necessarily willing to divulge money.
So thanks, Max. So looking at the why this is a need. So our 5 goal was to provide funding for social causes, empower customers to actually be involved with Samsung and help the environment and these goals. To provide individual impact, so everybody's going to do their own impact on what they believe. The eco-investment base in ranks is like a challenge, and so everybody participating will be kind of competing on a ranking, so it motivates people to keep pushing forward. And the social impact is to have transparency, so people around the world will see where their bonus points are going, and they'll know what their impact is doing. Looking at the what, which is our solution, we have Samsung Green, an add-on on the Samsung Members app. So right now they have a benefits page. The benefits page will be separated in two, the benefits and the rewards. The rewards will have a Samsung Green profile, which has purchasing points, which is the points that you will have to invest into projects. And eco points is the amount of points you've invested based on ranking. My impacts are the projects that you want to follow and see what is happening with your points. Looking furthermore over here on the Samsung Green Eco News, we have share your thoughts. If you have an idea, if you want to implement something, just share your thoughts. Maybe it'll be actually happening. The Planet First is a Samsung app that is in the process of being made, so we want to implement it into our add-on. Looking at eco tips, a lot of people are kind of learning how to help the environment and be a part, but not a lot of people are finding the resources, so we want to give it to them. Coming to our green products, Samsung has a lot of green products, or they're implementing new green products, but nobody is aware of this. So with our green products, we have a screen which has all the products, which you click on, which will bring you to the Samsung store. With the ranking, we have a scoreboard. You will see who's on top of each scoreboard, and who's in the lead, and how you can catch up to be on top of it. With Eco Invest, we are implementing the Global Goals app. So the Samsung Goals app, you can donate and watch videos to raise points. And then we're entering the eco investment with our projects. Each project has a certain amount of goals that they want to hit or bonus points. So you see the bar, and then you can follow it. So if you want to finish the project, you can invest your points sooner and get the project going.
So the big question here is, who is this app for? We have three main stakeholders here: the consumers, the social enterprises, and the partnerships. Now I want to focus on the consumers because obviously that's our biggest concern. We think that this app does a fantastic job of hitting the three tiers of increasing customer loyalty. We have social bonding, financial bonding, and structural bonding. Financial bonding, because as these users donate points to these ecological projects, they increase in rank. The higher you are in rank, the higher discounts you get on Samsung products. You might get free shipping, you might get free warranties, and this encourages consumers to buy more of our products. Social bonding, because users are allowed to interact with each other through forums, allowed to interact with the company through their suggestions, and that brings me to structural bonding, because we listen to our users and we've listened to their feedback, and we are willing to take their feedback and change this app through the first couple of years.
Now to the important part, which is how it's actually going to come together. Now we understand that Samsung wants to have this implemented in 2 years, so maybe making a whole new app might be too much of a project. So we're working on remodeling, but who's going to know this timeline better than our own app development team? So we're going to have to go up to them. And we're going to have to ask them, how long do you think this is going to take? Will we need to hire more app developers? Will we need to hire environmentalists for say? Next, we're going to need to connect with the partners we have, or partners we'd like to have in the beginning. 10 Tree is a company that we could use their resources to plant a large amount of trees. Next would be Red Cross, who we could use to feed the hungry, and then also change our goals whenever crises come up and they need to be helped. Next would be an ocean cleanup, and after that would be Discover Containers. So essentially this company grabs shipping containers like this and remodels them into a relatively cheaper home that we could help to home the poor. And by the end of it, we'd like to have our most loyal customers from Samsung members, because Samsung members does exist and there is a tier system, and we don't want them to think they're left out. And they are very loyal customers, so these people will be the best feedback we could receive. So we bring them under a non-disclosure agreement, and then they could give us honest feedback about how user-friendly and how clean our app is. Moving on to our medium term. Now, in our medium term, we want to be launching the app by 6 months in, because it is only a slight remodel. And we would like for us to have a launch conference, because there is quite a bit of complexity in our app, and we'd like to make sure that customers know exactly all the uses and benefits that they can receive from Samsung Green. After that, we're going to announce what type of rewards. So to make sure that there's a big boom of initial consumers, we're going to have a rank race reward. So a big reward for the first person to get platinum, another big reward for the first person to get diamond, And to make sure we have consistent use, we will be having yearly draws, because that will make sure people come back. And at the end of that, we are going to have an invitational for the top 25 people to have a closed discussion about sustainable development, because sometimes it's the most unexpected customers that could give you the most unexpected answers. We will be going through social media influencers. Because our target demographic is those 15 to 30 active social media users, we believe that that would be an easy way to control that. Now, we need to advertise it in different ways as well, because we do not want to just solely look at that demographic. We'd love to touch on everything since it's a global app. So we'll be looking at different ways to target the different target demographics. Moving on to our long term. We will now be there long enough so that our consumers can give us feedback on what type of goals they'd like to see and what type of rewards they maybe like to see from companies, and that would lead us to making partnerships. After this, we'd like to expand the application to iOS, because this isn't about company competition anymore. This is about changing the world on a global scale. And after that, always, always, always continuing your SDG partnerships, because the more we're able to reach out to different areas and the more people we can get using the app, the more we're going to see the world change. And now, when is this all going to happen? So we have a timetable here, and essentially the main points I want you to see is our SDG outreach and our SDG social cause increase. This is something we're always going to be actively monitoring and actively searching for, because the more social causes that we can get, the more people will be interested, because the more people will be able to interest. And of course, marketing and networking. We do not want people to not know about our app. We want Samsung Green to be everywhere and on people's minds at all times.
So this app is really about social impact, but how do we measure social impact? We've created some targets that we want to reach by certain time periods so that we can measure financials and how much we expect to earn revenue-wise from the social impact. So for example, month 1 after the initial app launch, we hope to have 100,000 active users. I want to specify active users because these are users that are actively, day-to-day, doing things on the app, not just people who have downloaded the app. And then by year 2, perhaps 3 million active users. If I could break this down in a financial sense, revenue-wise, we have optimistic, medium, and conservative estimates for how much each active user will invest into this Samsung app. So let's say, for example, optimistically, each user will invest $800 annually by having this app, because maybe since they're a gold member and they have a 10% discount, they'll make them purchase an extra $800 worth of products per year. This would come to a $1.6 billion USD revenue over 2 years, over the first 2 years of the app launch. And then if I could break down the cost of this, the biggest costs are obviously the cost of implementing these SDGs. So the costs Samsung would pay 10 trees to plant the trees, to feed the hungry, etc. And then also marketing costs and the sales discounts that we're providing, for a total cost of about $800 million USD. Of course, there are always risks and mitigations with any plan. A huge risk is, what if existing Samsung members who already have loyalty points feel alienated with this change? One option would be for us to give each of these users 200,000 free purchase points on the remodel of the app for them to spend as they please.
All right, and now for the conclusion. I'm going to reiterate really quickly the cycle of value that we've created. So starting from the consumer point of sale, so when a consumer goes in and buys a product, they will be rewarded with purchase points. These purchase points can be eco-invested in any SDG of their choice. As my partner mentioned, we have 10 trees, ocean cleanup, so on and so forth. After which, we want to have the transparency of our results. And the reason that we're choosing specific organizations is so that we can have a type of retroactivity from the organizations to the donors, through pictures, through innovation, stuff like that, so you don't think you're just throwing away your money. Finally, and this is where the consumer loyalty aspect comes in, consumers get to rank up. That means they get to compete, starting as a member, going to bronze, silver, so on and so forth. This will increase their savings on our products. This will increase their partnership awards. And finally, again, increasing our consumer loyalty. Now, to reiterate, 2 of our 4 members, that's 50%, had Samsung phones coming into South Korea. Had Samsung Green been invented ahead of time, we would have known about all the additional benefits and ecological temptations.
Thank you.
Thank you.